Well, welcome. Happy Thursday once again. We've got 60 minutes together as usual, and the theme of today's class is slow and steady. So we're going to have a slow flow style vinyasa class. Vinyasa is all those warriors and balance poses and stretches that you're really comfortable and familiar with at this time or at this point. So these poses will feel familiar to you. It's nothing advanced, nothing crazy. We're just going to slow it down. Slow, however, does not mean easy. So just because we're taking it slow doesn't mean it's going to be gentle. It can be if you want it to be, but it can be as challenging as you want it to be too. The challenge kind of lies in holding the poses for a longer amount of time. So we get into some of our warriors and our strong poses, and your goal is to stay with your breath, stay in a place of calm and of ease and inner peace, sort of not freaking out, not getting stressed while we're in these poses, remaining calm while you're in the midst of a challenging pose. And that goes for both strength and stretch. So let's get started right away. Let's take a seat on the mat. You can get comfortable however you like to sit. You can sit with your back against a wall, or sit with your legs crossed like this, or in a chair even, whatever feels good in your body. There's really no right or wrong. Take a minute to wiggle around, settle in, get really comfortable. And then close down your eyes if it works for you. If you'd rather leave your eyes open, that's totally fine too. And let's just start together with a big cleansing breath to let go of the day. When you're ready, take a big breath in through your nose. Pause at the top just for a moment, and then open up your mouth wide and let it go with a sigh.
Did you put Marie on
Let's
the
do
bed?
that 2 more times. Big breath in through the nose. And then open up your mouth and sigh. One last time. Inhale, biggest breath of the whole day. Pause at the top. And then when you're ready, open up, let it go. And then just breathe naturally in and out through your nose. Creating a nice, slow, full breath without strain. Let the body and the mind stay at ease. You don't need to work too hard here. There's no need to stress about your breath. Just let your body breathe. So as much as you can, you're breathing in and out through your nose. I know it's allergy season and that might not be possible today, but if you can, breathe in and out through your nostrils. And take your breaths way down low into your belly. So it's a deep breath rather than a shallow one into your chest. Take your breath way down low. Imagine drawing your breath all the way down into your hips. And with each exhale, feel your body soften just a little bit more.
Find it?
With your inhales, feel your body filling up with not only breath, but with energy, with life force, with alertness. And with each exhale, feel yourself soften, relax, and find a little bit of ease. Maybe with each exhale, you visualize letting go of something, letting go of stress, letting go of something that happened today, something that happened last week or a year ago, something that's no longer serving you, something you don't need in your body or your mind or your heart anymore. Anything that you feel the need to rid yourself of and get out of your body, do it with an exhale. Taking slow, full breaths without strain. Let the breath be really easy, really free. And if it feels hard to breathe, sit up just a little bit taller. Create some more space in your body for your breath to flow through you. Your heart nice and open, belly soft. Notice if there's any part of your breath where you feel yourself rushing. Are you rushing the inhale or the exhale? Even more specifically, are you rushing the beginning of the inhale or the beginning of the exhale or the end of either breath? Can you get really specific, really present with your breath? Really aware of what's going on in your body as you breathe, and start to pay attention and become aware of the moments within each cycle of breath where you feel yourself rushing. Even if you feel like you're not rushing any part of the breath, it's probably happening just a little bit somewhere in that cycle of breath. See if you can really pay attention and find a single spot, a single moment within your cycle of breath where there's a little bit of rush, a little bit of haste. For a lot of people, it's the beginning of the exhale. So they take a big breath in and then they want to let it all go really quickly. So it comes sort of puffing out, or it comes rushing out of the body. If you imagine turning on a faucet, full force, opening up the tap all the way, unscrewing the tap all the way, and the water comes flooding out really quickly. For a lot of people, that happens with the exhale. You might notice that in your own body. And if you do, see if you can instead visualize opening up that water faucet, the tap, just barely so the water trickles out rather than gushing. And take a few breaths like that. Feeling each cycle of breath that goes through your body getting just a little slower than the last one. Just a little longer.
You know those are
Here
clean,
before we
right?
even start to move our bodies. Already we're finding that theme of the day, slow and steady. We're finding it in the breath. Slow and steady. There's no part of the breath where you're rushing. No part of the breath you're trying to speed through. Especially if you're someone who likes to get things over with. If you're someone who likes to check things off a to-do list as quickly as possible just to get it done. This is really important and probably really challenging for you today. So stay patient, stay compassionate with yourself. You don't have to do this perfectly. Let's bring the hands to the heart, set an intention for patience and compassion today. Patience and compassion with yourself, with others. Let's start with yourself. Set this intention, patience and compassion. Hold these words in your heart. We're going to sort of plant them like seeds and let them blossom, let them flourish as we move into our practice. Patience and compassion. So when you feel yourself rushing, when you feel yourself trying to get things done, get it over with, come back, patience and compassion. Take a big full breath here. Slow and steady. And then when you're ready, open up your eyes. Let's come right away into a tabletop pose. All right, so coming onto your hands and your knees here, stacking your joints so that your shoulders are right on top of your wrists, your hips are right on top of your knees. And already we're really going slow and steady. We're not rushing into our cat-cows or any other movements. We're just setting up the body in a really intentional way. Joints are stacked, fingers are spread wide, all 10 of them pressing firmly into the mat. You can really see your fingertips turning white even if you look down, and really press with the fingers. And then now we'll start our cat-cow movement. So very slowly, inhale, start to drop your belly, tilt the tailbone up toward the sky, lift your gaze, pull your chest through between your biceps. This should be slower than you normally do this movement. As you exhale, go ahead and start to round your spine. I want you to go really slowly. Tuck the tailbone, bring the belly up toward the spine, drop your head very slowly, push the floor away with your hands, and puff up in between your shoulder blades. We're gonna do 5 rounds. Let's go inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That was even a little bit fast for me. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 3 more rounds. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slow it down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more rounds, even slower. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2. Last round. Notice where you're rushing. Inhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then let's come back to a neutral spine. All right, so noticing how it feels in your body to move really slowly. You might be feeling antsy today. I am. I have kind of a lot of energy in my body today, so this might be extra challenging. Let's come into a child's pose. Walk your hands out in front of you. So maybe scoot your knees together and sit back on your heels. You could also opt to take the knees out wide and sit back on your heels. 2 different versions of child's pose. There's not one that's better or worse, right or wrong. Just find whichever one feels better to you. Your hands can stay out in front of you, stack underneath your forehead, or wrap back toward your feet. If child's pose altogether does not feel good in your body, a really nice alternative is to lay down on your belly with your hands underneath your head. A little less pressure on the knees and the ankles. I know it looks different. You might really want to do that traditional child's pose, but see if you can let go of that. If this feels better to you, go here. All right, let's press back up to tabletop pose. And then from here, tuck your right toes under, push back through your right heel. Find a calf stretch. So your right toes stay down on the floor. You're not lifting the leg yet. We'll do that soon, but for now, find a calf stretch. Right toes stay down, push back through the heel, push into all 10 of your fingertips, and get nice and long through your neck so the head's not dropping. The gaze is not cranked forward, so the neck stays nice and neutral if you look down. All right, taking another breath here, not in any rush to move on or go elsewhere. When you're ready, we'll start to lift that right leg really slowly, reaching it back behind you, going for length here rather than height. So if you kick that leg way up toward the sky, nothing wrong with this necessarily, but for a lot of people, it's kind of intense on the lower back. If you kick the leg up high, the lower back tends to collapse. If you keep the leg in line with the torso, the belly can stay lifted, the lower back can stay nice and long. Now you're going to start to crawl your left fingertips forward as far out as they can go, and then finally lift that left arm right out in front of you, straight out in front of you, with the palm turned towards center, fingers spread wide, left ear by the left bicep. Keep the belly lifted, make sure that the low back didn't collapse. Keep the neck nice and long, face relaxed. And then back behind you, I want you to flex your right foot so the toes point straight down toward the ground, not pointing the toes back behind you. Good. So slow and steady, we're holding here, not going anywhere else. Oftentimes we bring the elbow and the knee together when we move through lots of rounds. Here, we're just gonna hold steady and strong. Notice where in your body you're starting to feel fatigued. Maybe you've been feeling fatigued. Stay steady, stay with the breath. Inhale and exhale through your nose, we're almost done. Keep the belly lifted. Good, on your next exhale, set the hand and the knee down. Come to child's pose. Sit back on your heels or lay on your belly. And let's take 2 big deep breaths.
Sticky needs to go out low.
Very nice. When you're ready, let's press back up to tabletop pose. Tuck your left toes under, push back through your left heel. Finding that calf stretch for the left leg. All 10 fingers spread wide. Push down as hard as you can into all 10 of them. Same checks as last time. Keep your neck long, head lifted, not dropping the head, not cranking the gaze forward. Keeping already, before you even start to lift the leg, keeping the belly lifted toward the back of your shirt, not dropping and collapsing into the belly or the shoulders. Both hands are pushing the floor away as hard as possible. When you're ready, start to lift that left leg straight back behind you. Once again, go for length rather than height. Notice already if there's anywhere you find yourself rushing. Can you feel or sense yourself rushing through any part of this? If your right hand has already reached forward, there's a good signal that you're rushing. Both hands should still be down on the floor just for another moment. Keeping the belly lifted, neck long, and then crawl your right fingertips forward. As far as they can go, then reach the right hand in front of you. Spread the right fingers wide, turn your right palm towards center, right ear right next to the bicep. Breathe. Flex your left foot, point those left toes straight toward the floor. Keep the belly lifted. I know that's really hard to maintain. Keep checking in with the belly. Squeeze the left glute. Keep reaching long with those right fingers. Continue pushing the floor away as hard as you can with your left hand. You're not dropping or collapsing into the left shoulder. Push the floor away and breathe. Good. Notice where you start to collapse, where you start to lose or leak your energy out of the body. Is it your left foot dropping down? Is it your left hand or your head or your belly dropping down? Or does it rotate between all of those parts? Let's take 2 more breaths. And on the second exhale, come down slowly to child's pose. Notice if that last part or the exit from the pose happens to be the part where you find yourself rushing. Really, really common, really natural to rush through the end there. When you're feeling fatigued, then you want to find that relief and just collapse out of the pose. I want you to pay attention there and see if you can transition out of each pose just as slowly as you came in. All right, when you're ready, let's press up through tabletop to a downward facing dog. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, head drops low as the hips rise up. And let's start to pedal the feet here. Moving a little bit into our first downward facing dog, wiggling around as you settle in, taking a few breaths. And as you make those first movements, like pedaling your feet or shaking your head yes and no, or rocking your hips side to side, as you make these first movements, I want you to see how slow and steady you can be. Not rushing through, maybe slowing those little movements down. And then checking in with your downward facing dog. Does it feel like just the right width and length? Does your downward facing dog need to be a little wider today? Or a little longer or shorter? Where does your downward facing dog feel best to you? And if you're not sure, adjust it a little bit, check in, change the width, change the length, change the rotation of your hands. Make sure that you feel like you're in a really strong, really comfortable position. Good. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Fingers spreading wide, hands pushing into the ground, knees stay bent, hips pull back. So the spine is super long. When you're ready, take your feet out as wide as your mat, toes point slightly out, heels point slightly in. You're going to walk your hands back toward your feet, coming into a sort of wide forward fold, semi-wide forward fold. Keep your knees nice and soft. Drop your head. Shake it no, shake it yes. Good. And then we'll bend the knees deeply for our yogi squat, Malasana. So at the back of the mat, coming into our low squat. And the first one of the day is often quite a challenge. So be patient, be compassionate with yourself, that intention we set before. If your heels need to stay lifted, that's okay. The heels can come down or they can stay up. You can wag your tail a little bit from side to side if that feels good, or let the spine round and the head drop. You could even go back and forth between your forward fold and your yogi squat a couple of times. Sometimes that feels really nice. Or you could do a little bit of twisting. You can take one hand down to the floor, opposite hand up. And if that felt good, then switch sides. Maybe once or twice on each side. And we'll just be here another moment, not rushing through. And then when you're ready, we're going to make our way back to downward facing dog. So crawl those hands forward, lift the hips up high, keep the knees soft, maybe scoot the feet back toward each other just a little bit. And then from here, look up between your hands, squat back with your legs. You're going to walk, step, or hop up to a forward fold at the front of your mat. From here, stand up really strong with the legs, reach your arms up high. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, let your arms drop down by your sides, shake them out a little bit, roll the shoulders a couple of times, up, back, and down. Turn your head from side to side. Good. Maybe roll the head just a couple of times in each direction. Breathing still. And when you feel ready, come back to center, finding mountain pose at the front of your mat. Toes spread wide, arches of the feet sort of scrunch. I've talked about this before, I think. Imagine that you've got rags underneath your feet. You're going to imagine scrunching up those rags underneath the arches of your feet. You should feel the feet really activate there. All the way up the legs should start to feel active. The quads, the glutes, brace your belly. Arms drop heavy, but the heart stays light. Take a big breath in, reach your arms up slowly. As you exhale, we're gonna very, very slowly forward fold. I want you to sit back with your hips, bend your knees, lead with your chest, fold forward, bring your palms to the mat underneath your shoulders. From there, as slowly as you can, step back into a high plank. One foot and then the other. So setting up here, we're gonna hold for a couple of breaths. Shoulders right on top of the wrists, fingers spread wide. Push down as hard as you can with your hands so you're not dropping or collapsing between the shoulders, but lifting up and out of the shoulders. Come way up onto your tippy toes. Turn the thighs and the glutes on. You want your hips up about as high as your shoulders for a yoga plank. This is a little different from any other plank that you might do. In yoga, we keep the hips way up high, not higher than the shoulders, but in line with the shoulders so that it's easier to step the feet forward for a lunge. We're not going to do that yet. We'll do that in a few moments. But for now, just set up this really strong plank and hold. Keep the neck nice and long. Don't drop your head. Don't crank the gaze forward. Keep the neck neutral, in line with the rest of the spine. See if you can relax your face. Come up onto your tippy toes if you lost it. Push the floor away with your hands. One more big breath in. As you exhale, set your knees down, lower to your belly. Nice job. All right, baby cobra. Lift your chest. Lift your hands. Squeeze your heels together back behind you. You should feel the glutes activate there. If not, see if you can squeeze the glutes as hard as you can. Hands are by the low ribs, closer to the waist than you think they should be, not up by your shoulders. Elbows are pushing up toward the ceiling. See if you can really push those elbows. Imagine you could push the elbows into the ceiling. And then make sure that the neck is neutral again. You're not looking down, you're not looking forward, you're looking just a couple of inches in front of you. Neck is in line with the rest of the spine. Breathe. Really feeling the back of the body fired up here. We're almost done. See if you can lift up just a little bit higher. And then when you're ready, tuck your toes. Big, strong push up through plank, either to your knees or your toes, and then we'll go back to downward facing dog. Great job. All right, so probably feeling pretty warm at this point. If you need a child's pose, feel free to set your knees down. Otherwise, stay in your downward dog. We're gonna be here for 5 breaths. Inhaling and exhaling through your nose. Keeping the face soft. Hands continue pushing into the mat while the hips continue pulling back, keeping the spine long. Last breath. Keep the breath moving slow and steady through the body. And on your next breath in, look forward between your hands, squat back with your legs. As you exhale, walk, step, or take a little hop up to a forward fold at the front of your mat. Stand up really slowly. Let's stand up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big breath in, reach up. Exhale, drop your arms. Shake them out. Roll the shoulders. Turn the head side to side if you'd like. We're gonna do that sequence 2 more times. So those long holds in plank and baby cobra and downward facing dog. You can do it. If you need to modify, set your knees down and plank. Take some breaks if needed, but stay slow and steady, strong and steady as much as you can. Let's go. Big breath in, arms up. Exhale, bend your knees. Let's fold forward for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plant your hands, step the feet back slowly into a high or a knee plank. If you need to set your knees down, you can, but trust yourself. I know that you can do this. I promise that you can. If you do stay on the toes, come way up onto the tippy toes, hips up about as high as the shoulders. Push the floor away with your hands as hard as you can. We're gonna take 10 breaths starting now. Inhale as slow and steady as you can. Exhale as softly without rush as you can. Breath number 4. 6. Here's 7, we're almost there. 8. Thighs and glutes on, almost done. Last 2 breaths. And 1, set your knees down, bend your elbows, lower to the ground. Great job. All right, cobra for 10 breaths. You can do this. Squeeze the heels, feel the glutes turn on. Lift your head, your chest, and your hands. Take those hands down by the lower ribs, and we'll hold for 10 breaths. I know it's a little bit tough to breathe here since the belly is on the floor, so there's some weight on the belly. It's hard to breathe fully into the belly, but do your best. Keep the neck nice and long. Maybe look down the tip of your nose. That's a good check. Good, we're halfway there. Squeeze the heels, push the elbows up, lift a little higher. You can do this. You've done hard things before. I know you can. 2 more breaths. And when you're ready, lower down, tuck the toes, push up through a higher knee plank, back to your downward facing dog, or remember that you can always take child's pose. 5 breaths here. All right, last round. Inhale, look between your hands, squat back with your legs. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to a forward fold. Stand up, reach up, inhale. Exhale, drop your arms, shake it out, roll the shoulders, roll the head, whatever you need to do to reset. Last round, I know that you can do this. Find some inner strength here, inner steadiness and stability. Mountain pose is a good place to start, and picture yourself just like a mountain, unwavering. Plugging the feet into the earth. And then when you're ready, let's go. Inhale, arms go up. As you exhale, bend your knees, sit back slowly, folding forward. Plant the palms under the shoulders. Step your feet back into a high or a knee plank. You choose. Just 5 breaths this last round. It's not as slow as the middle one, but you've still got to bring it, give it your all. 3 more breaths. Way up on the tippy toes, push the floor away. Last 2 breaths. And 1. Good. When you're ready, set the knees down lower to your belly. Baby cobra for 5 breaths. Give it everything you've got. Lift up as high as you can. Squeeze the heels. Elbows push up. 4 more breaths. Keep the neck long. Last breath. When you're ready, lower down, tuck your toes, push up through higher knee plank, back to downward facing dog. 5 breaths here. All right, let's go ahead and take the right foot, step it forward between your hands. Let's come up to a high lunge. When you're ready, slowly lift the fingertips, rise up slower than you normally do. So if you kind of pay attention here, if you've made it to high lunge and you can see your computer screen, oftentimes our tendency is to fling up really fast without much control. As you come up, and you can even try it again if you want, fingertips lift off the floor, you push down into the front foot and rise up slower today. A little slower than normal. Soften the back knee, squeeze the back glute, getting really intentional and purposeful about the body alignment here. Brace the belly for a punch. Arms reach up if they're comfortable. If the shoulders feel fatigued, which they might after all those planks, bring your hands to your heart instead. Good. Spine is long, crown of the head reaches high. Let's take 1 more breath here. And then you're going to take a 5 count to go to warrior 2. So you're going to open up the arms, drop the back heel for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A little harder to go slow here. All right, holding warrior 2. Check down with the front knee. Make sure it's not collapsing in. You should see it pulling out toward the pinky edge of the foot. Keep the big toe pressing down, knee pulling to the opposite side. So your big toe presses. If I'm looking down from this side, my big toe is pressing down on this side and my knee is pulling this way. Okay, belly is braced, glutes are squeezing, arms are reaching long. Look from your left arm to your right arm. Make sure they look about level. Hard to tell, I know, but make sure that back arm isn't dropping. Beautiful. From here, flip your front palm. We're going to go to reverse warrior. So the right arm is going to go up. We're going to take a 5 count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then hold reverse warrior. Keep the front knee bent. Make sure it didn't straighten. Right arm reaching long overhead. So you get a big side body stretch along the right side. Left hand can either stay on the left leg, wrap around your lower back, or reach in front of your belly. For the hardest version, you could even reach both arms overhead. Keep that front knee bent. Let's take 2 more breaths. Nice job. All right, we're going to take a 5 count to extended side angle. So that's the opposite from here. You're going to go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and bring either your elbow to your knee or your right fingertips to the floor inside your foot. If you've got a yoga block or something to hold on to, that would work as well. Left arm is reaching in a straight line with your left leg. So left fingertips to left foot are in one straight line. Hold here. If you want to find the most challenging version of this pose, again, both arms can reach overhead. Hold 2 more breaths. Beautiful. From here, let's take both hands to the ground inside the foot, lizard pose. Wiggle your right foot over to the right side of the mat. Pop the back heel up so the toes and the ball of the foot are on the mat. If you can, go to your palms. If you prefer, you can make fists or kind of make thumbs up so that your fists are on the ground and your thumbs are touching the mat. Just a little nice break for the wrists if the wrists feel tired. Otherwise, stay on your palms. You could also, if you prefer, drop down to the left elbow, maybe even the right elbow as well. Go a little deeper into your lizard. We're gonna hold here for a couple of breaths. See if you can keep the back knee lifted up off the ground rather than setting it down. Of course, if you need to set it down, please do so, but if you can, keep it up. Good, we're almost done. Let's take 2 more breaths. And then we're gonna make our way back to downward facing dog. Slowly slide the right foot back to meet the left and lift the hips up. Whew, catch your breath. Make sure you're still breathing slowly and steadily in and out through the nose. Okay, whatever's going on in the body, whatever's going on in the breath, and in the mind especially, come back to patience and compassion. Come back to patience and compassion. You're doing a great job. This is a tough class today. Stay in patience and compassion. All right, we're gonna repeat on the other side. Left foot forward between the hands. Slowly, even slower than last time, we're gonna rise up to high lunge. I want you to lift the fingertips up off the mat, kind of just hovering right above the floor, and then rise up slowly. Let's go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All the way up, hands either overhead or at your heart. Soften the back knee so it's not locked out straight. When you soften the back knee, you can tuck your tailbone, neutralize the spine. Watch what happens in my back if I straighten out the back knee. Compared to when I bend it, I can neutralize, get really strong and steady through the midsection of my body here. I can brace the belly, I can squeeze the glutes and hold. A little taller through the crown of the head. And we'll take our last breath. All right, warrior 2 comes next. Let's take a 5 count transition to open up the arms and drop the back heel. 4, 3, 2, 1, settling in. I'm gonna turn to the other side so I can see you guys. So I'm flipping, you can stay where you are. Arms go long, check in, make sure the arms are about level. Look from one hand to the other. Check in with the legs. Front leg, front knee is not collapsing to the inside, that's the tendency. Remember, if I turn this way, tendency is for the knee to collapse inward toward the big toe side. Pull it toward the pinky side. But then make sure you didn't roll onto the pinky edge of the foot. Keep the big toe pressing down. It's a lot to remember. Okay, glutes are squeezing, belly is braced. Now, just adding on a little bit more with the feet. If you can, think about pulling the feet together and at the same time pushing the feet apart. So it's like you're trying to scrunch up the mat and stretch out. And the feet don't move, but you're energetically pulling them toward each other and pushing them apart. You should really feel the legs working here. Let's hold for 1 more breath. And then we'll flip the front palm for reverse warrior. Let's go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Finding that reverse warrior with the left arm up. Keep the front knee bent. Right arm is either on the right leg, around your back, in front of your belly, or overhead for the toughest version. Find one that feels interesting to you. Even if you try it and it's a little too much, that's okay. Stay with your slow, steady breath. See if you're leaking energy anywhere in the body, if you can plug up those holes, get a little more, what word am I looking for? Get a little more put together, get a little more strong. And then we'll take a 5 count to extended side angle. When you're ready, left elbow is gonna go for the left knee for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Either landing the elbow on the knee, bringing the fingers to the floor, or reaching both arms overhead. You decide. Right arm is in a straight line aligned with the right leg. Good, and we hold. If you don't want to reach both arms overhead, but you want to try a little more challenge, you could also just take the elbow 1 inch up off the knee and give it a try, even if it's for 1 single breath, and then you set it back down. Slow and steady. Let's take 2 more breaths. Good, and then both hands come down to the ground slowly for lizard. Pop the back heel up, wiggle the left foot to the left side of the mat, and then let the palms rest under your shoulders. If you'd prefer, you can make thumbs up to the mat, or you could come down onto your right elbow, maybe even your left one as well. Finding some version of lizard pose that feels good to you. Staying with the slow and steady breath in and out through the nose. If you need to, you can set the back knee down. If you can, keep the back knee lifted. Good. Make sure that your head is not dropped. Keep the neck in line with the rest of the spine. Two more breaths here, lizard pose. When you're ready, slowly step the left foot back to meet the right in plank, and then downward facing dog. Great job. Let's all set the knees down and take a child's pose. Ooh, big poses, big strength, big stretch. Let's come back to the breath. Stay present in the body. Don't let yourself escape or lose focus. Stay in the body, but find the breath. Slow it down. When you're ready, meet back in downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips and the knees. And from here, let's look forward, squat back, slowly walk, step or hop to a forward fold. From here, let's rise up to chair pose. Bend your knees, bring your hands to your heart. All right, chair pose, one of our toughest poses. For me, one of my least favorite. But if I can do it, you can, I promise. Sit down nice and low. Let's make this a really low chair pose. I want you to take your fingertips and touch the floor next to your feet. So we get really low in chair pose. And then bring the hands back up to the heart. And then check back in. Make sure that you can still touch the floor. Hands come up. Okay, 5 breaths. That's all. We're not going to do multiple rounds. We're just going to do one single chair pose. 5 breaths. 4 more. 3 more. 2 more. And last one. Stand up. Shake out the legs. Nice job. All right. Ooh, a little bit of balance work. Shake out the arms. Shake out the legs. And then we'll find mountain pose here. We're going to do a tree pose on each side. That's it for the balance work, and then we'll stretch it out. Let's go to the right side first. Shift your weight into your right foot. Pick your left heel up. Keep the left toes down. Turn the left knee out to the side. Set the heel on the ankle. Start here. Hands can come to heart or to your hips. They could even reach out to the sides if that feels a little more steady to you. And then if you want to take your tree pose further, you can bring the foot and slide it up to the ankle or to the calf or to the knee. Whoop. Maybe you fall and come back. You could bring it up to the inner thigh. You could reach down, give it a little help. I've even seen you could take a lotus pose version of tree pose by taking the pinky edge of the foot to the thigh. Sometimes that doesn't feel good for some bodies. Some people love it. You can try it if you want. If it doesn't feel good, just go back. And then go somewhere that feels fun with your arms. So if you're on your hips and you're feeling like it's all you can do to concentrate, I want you to take those arms out, let them flail in the wind, let them blow in the breeze, let it be a little bit fun. If you're at your heart and you want to reach up, or one up, one down, or take your arms into funky shapes, walk like an Egyptian, do something that feels a little bit fun, put a smile on your face. This is just yoga. We get really serious in yoga, don't we? And I do it too. See if you can let it be a little bit fun here. Okay, so if you're moving, if you're flailing like I am and blowing in the breeze, see if you can even slow that down. Continue having fun, stay lighthearted, but find some steadiness. Find some steadiness, even if it's not in the body, but it's in the breath. Slow and steady. Let's take 3 more breaths on this side. Good, and when you're ready, we're gonna exit just as slowly as you came in. So you're gonna pick the foot up off the leg, set it down gently, and then shake it out. All right, maybe roll that right ankle a couple of times. And then we'll switch. All right. Weight comes into the left foot, right heel picks up, keep the toes down to start, turn the knee out to the side and set the heel on the ankle. Now go somewhere intentional with your hands just to get set up, just to get started, either to your hips or to your heart or out to the sides, whatever feels intentional and feels steady to you here, just to get settled in. Then if you want to, you can slide the foot up higher on the leg, to the ankle, or the calf, or the knee, or reach down, pull that foot up to the inner thigh, or try the lotus version. And then if you fall, come back in. So just finding any version of tree pose that feels perfect for you in this moment. And it does not have to be the version of tree pose that you normally take. If you do this pose often, you can take a different one. You could try it with your eyes closed. You could try it with the arms in a different position than last time. You could take your hands behind your back. You could hold onto a wall if that's what you need today. If holding onto a wall makes you feel steady, go there. You can also try, if you're feeling really steady today, good for you. If you're feeling really steady, you can take your head and turn it, keep your gaze locked forward. So find a sort of dot or a point to stare at, and then take your head and turn it around. So your eyes stay still, but your head moves. Whoop, and it challenges the balance big time, because our balance is very connected to our inner ears and to our sight. As soon as you start to roll the head, it changes. If that feels good, you could also try keeping the head still, but moving the eyes around the room. And that'll challenge the balance. Yeah, good. Wherever you are, take your last breath or two, and then you're gonna make your transition out of tree pose just as slowly as you came in. Take the foot off the leg, slowly step down and shake it out. Maybe roll that left ankle a couple of times. Nice job. All right, so let's go ahead and stretch it out. We've got a few minutes here. Let's do pigeon pose. So I'm gonna have you come to the front of your mat and fold forward when you're ready. Fingertips or palms down, bend the knees. You're gonna step your right foot way to the back of the mat. Take your left foot, wiggle it over to the right side of the mat, and then drop the outside of your calf down to the floor. So this is pigeon stretch. The front shin is at an angle, knee points forward, heel is sort of tucked in toward the hips. It's not tucked under the hips. You should look down and see that left shin at an angle. Now, if this does not feel good in your body, I'm going to show you another version in a moment, but if this does feel good, then you can come down onto your elbows or come all the way down till your head meets your hands or the floor. And we're going to slow down and steady ourselves in body, mind, and breath here. Okay, so option 2, if pigeon doesn't feel good to you, Figure 4, right knee bent, left ankle on top of right knee, hands behind you. You'll get that same hip stretch that you find in pigeon pose, just in a different seated version of it. Looks a little different, but feels the same, or feels at least very similar. All right, so pigeon or figure 4, some kind of stretch for that left hip. If you need to wiggle around a little bit as you settle in, feel free to do that, and then steady yourself. Maybe you steady yourself through the breath. You find that nice slow breath in and out through the nose. And you feel your body getting still. With each cycle of breath, you feel yourself getting a little bit more relaxed, a little bit softer. And you're finding that steadiness. The same kind of steadiness that you found in every pose before. The poses up till this point were really challenging, really tough. This is a different kind of challenge because you have to stay with your breath in these uncomfortable stretches. I know it doesn't always feel amazing or feel relaxing, but you can still find steadiness here. You can still do it through the breath. Notice how it feels to find steadiness here compared to our warriors or our tree pose or chair pose. We're going to be here for a few more breaths. See how steady you can get. Not only in the breath, not only in the body, but maybe also in the mind. Is your mind thinking about 100 other things to distract itself? Are you thinking about your to-do list, thinking about dinner, thinking about things you have to get done tomorrow? What is your mind thinking about? Could you be a little bit more steady, a little bit more present in the body? Instead of scattered, instead of anxious, could you get a little bit more steady? And a good way to do that is just focusing on the breath. The breath is kind of our magic tool for everything in the yoga practice. Always come back to the breath. Come back to the breath. Come back to the breath. If you're ready, let's go ahead and switch sides. I know we've been here a while. Take your time, come up to your palms. And we're gonna bring the right leg around to the front and then slowly bring the left leg to the back. So you do a big rotation. If you're doing figure 4, you can switch sides with your seated figure 4 stretch. So the left knee would be bent with the right ankle over the left knee, hands behind you. If you're doing pigeon, the right shin is at an angle this time. Right knee forward, left leg back. You're either then on your elbows or resting your forehead on the backs of your hands. Okay, and then you're wiggling around if needed, if it feels good, or you're just settling in, finding your breath again, finding that same steadiness from before. On a new side of the pose, noticing if this side feels easier or harder. Maybe they feel fairly balanced. Oftentimes, we have one side that's tighter and one side that feels a little more open, a little easier, a little softer. That's just because of our movement habits, movement patterns. As you start to get really present in your body in your yoga practice, you start to notice things in your life that create these habitual sensations in the body, these habitual places of tightness and tension. So, for example, if you're noticing that your right hip here is much tighter than your left hip, maybe as you're sitting at your desk throughout the day, you notice, are you crossing your right leg over your left or your left over your right? Are you standing in line at the grocery store with more weight on your right leg than your left leg? Are you doing something around the house, household chores, using your right leg more than your left leg, or bending more into the right leg than the left leg? There's all sorts of different things that can create those slight differences or slight shifts in the tightness in the body. those imbalances. And there's nothing wrong with imbalances, but the yoga practice will help you to become more aware of these imbalances so that you can bring more balance into your life, into your grocery store standing habits, into your desk sitting habits. As you're picking up after your children and things like this, doing yard work, you start to notice, and then you can bring more balance. But you have to slow down enough, get steady enough to even have an opportunity to notice. If you rush from pose to pose, breath to breath, moment to moment, email to email, lunch to dinner, if you rush and rush and rush from moment to moment, it's really hard to notice these things. So this is why we slow down. This is why we get steady, so that you can get more present, get more aware, and then make changes that make you feel better every moment of the day. Let's come out of pigeon or figure four when you're ready. I know we've been here a long time. It's a big stretch. Go ahead and lay down onto your back when you're ready. If you need to turn down lights or adjust music or anything else, before you do that, go right ahead. And then let's take a full body stretch. When you get onto your back, extend your arms overhead, legs out long, opening up the front side of the hips after all that pigeon stretch. And then when you're ready, we'll take a brief twist. Bend your knees, open up your arms to the sides, let your knees twist to one side, either side. We'll take just a couple of breaths. And then the other side. When you're ready, come to center and switch. If there's a final pose or a stretch that you need on your way to Shavasana, you're welcome to take it here. Could be a happy baby, could be anything else that would feel good to you. And then after pigeon pose, I always really like a Shavasana with my feet together, knees wide, just like I'm doing here. Feet together, knees wide, and then hands on the belly. Just feels good to me after pigeon. But if that doesn't feel so good to you, you can go to a normal or traditional Shavasana with your legs out long or your knees bent, feet on the mat, knees together, or anything else that would feel good to you. Whatever will be most relaxing. Take your time settling in and finding a comfortable position, closing down your eyes, wiggling around until you are as comfortable as you can possibly be. Coming into Shavasana slowly and steadily. Sometimes when we rush Shavasana, it's really hard to relax. Probably every time that we rush Shavasana, it's really hard to relax. Anytime you feel yourself rushing a breath, a movement, a moment, an experience, it's hard to soak it up fully. So let yourself go really slowly here into relaxation. And the same goes for when you decide to come out of Shavasana tonight. Come out really slowly with small movements, small breaths. No rush. I'll invite you to stay in your Shavasana for at least 10 more breaths. But if you don't have anything to do after this, there's nowhere else to go, nothing on the schedule, and you can take 5 or 10 or even 20 minutes in Shavasana, Awesome. Take that time, soak it up. Every ounce of relaxation that you can find. Thank you so much for sharing your evening, your day, your yoga practice with me. The light and the love in me honors the light and the love in you. Namaste.